What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKickMMA mid-year review show. Today we're going to recap everything that's going on in the first half of the year and give our picks on some of the awards going out, the MMA awards. Obviously, I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me today, as always, is Jordan Ellis. How's it going, Jordan?
It's going good. I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. We've got a week off from fights, but it doesn't mean we stop watching them and we stop talking about them. So it's been a great first half of the year, all things considered. So looking forward to breaking everything down.
Absolutely. There's a lot to get through. So right off the bat, we'll start off with one that most recently has come up, which is knockout of the year so far. And obviously, recently there was a couple of good picks that are going to be in a lot of people's top ones of the year. There's a couple of other ones I thought of that for a bit earlier in the year, but I think my number one pick on this one has to be that Cody Garbrandt knockout of Rafael Sunsao, just because it was like a walk-off knockout. It was like right at the end of a round, on the last second. There was a lot of a spectacle behind it, so that's why that's my pick. So what's your pick for knockout of the year?
This is a really tough one for me. I think I was looking through my picks over the last couple of days, and I wasn't nailed on that Cody Garbrandt one, but I think the more I watch it, the more I lean towards Francis against Rosenstrike. The more I see that, and I've been going back, and it's just so brutal and so devastating and so quick. But it is really a toss up between Francis, O'Malley, and Garbrandt. I think they're all brilliant knockouts. I think you could go with any three of them, like any of the three. But I just can't get over that. I know he does it a lot, but that one was more vicious than it. He's just up against the cage, getting his head bounced off it. So I think I'd go Francis, but I'm backing anyone who picks O'Malley and Garbrandt too.
I'll tell you one I had as my runner-up that you didn't mention, and that was Jan Blachowicz' knockout of Corey Anderson.
Yeah, and I've got him. I narrowed it down to five in the end. I had Jan getting that one, and Tyson Nam's one over the kickboxer Adeshev, because that was brutal as well. So that's the five I got it down to. But in terms of what Jan did, I did expect them to do that. Like, I kind of expected them to knock Corey Anderson out. Whereas I was surprised Francis was able to do that. Cody Garbrandt was coming off such a bad run. That, and then obviously Sean O'Malley, was facing the biggest opponent he's faced, and then he shot on that stage. So I do think Nams and Blachowicz, they just fall below them three, and then between them three, it's pick who you like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that was good picks by both of us there. So we'll move on to a harder one. This was much harder for me anyway, looking back at what's happened so far this year. And this one was submission of the year. And the reason it was difficult for me looking back, because last year there was a lot of weird, different submissions we don't see often. Obviously, there was Bryce Mitchell's Twister. There was someone did the Peruvian necktie on Jimmy Crute. I can't remember who that was. But there's a couple of different unique submissions we don't often see. Whereas this year, there hasn't been anything really that stood out unless I'm missing something. So the one I picked for my submission of the year was Rodolfo Vieira's submission of Safarov, because he got damaged early in that fight and his eye shut. And the second his eye shut, he shot for the takedown and just dominated him until he got the head-arm triangle and finished him. It was just awesome display. Obviously, my runner-up was Aljamain Sterling against Corey Sandhagen. That lightning fast submission in the first round. Obviously, a lot of build-up behind that fight. So for him to do that was very impressive. Who'd you have?
Yeah, I do. I'll probably go for Sterling Sandhagen just because of how quick it was, how impressive it was. It was just not something you expected. It was a 50-50 fight. Everyone was excited about it, and he just went and slapped it on. But I wrote a few different ones. Obviously, Thiago Moises, he got that heel hook on Michael Johnson not long ago, and he was losing that fight, and he just pulled out in the second round. But then Kelleher got a nice guillotine choke on Ode Osborne at the start of the year, 246. I think he was in mount, and then he managed to tie it in. There was a few weird ones, and then obviously last week we had a Rosa against Woodson, which he was a massive underdog, as we spoke about. And he managed to slap on a Dars. And then just lastly, I've picked so many for this one because it is, honestly, you could flip a coin on all these. Mackenzie Dern, when she got that knee bar, that was a big win as well, because she was coming off a first career loss and she got back in there and she pulled something big off. I think in the end I would edge Sterling Sandhagen just because of the significance of the fight. I don't think there's been any weird submissions, as you say. It's just he's done it on the biggest stage. He's pulled off the biggest submission of the year, and that's why I think it is the submission of the year so far. But I'm sure as the year progresses, we'll get more, and that'll get beat.
Absolutely. I mean, it was probably the most dominant out of any of those submissions that we named. That was like the most dominant. There was no point in that fight where he was in danger, really, because he immediately shot that takedown, took him down, and just found the choke. Another one that I'm now thinking about now from last weekend was Karma Worthy's submission of Luis Pena. That guillotine, it was so tight. That was like one of the best guillotines I've seen. And so that's another impressive one. But yeah, I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira. Obviously, Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen's your pick, so both good ones there. And so moving on, the next category I had is Breakthrough Star. And I'm going to go to you first. Who thinks your Breakthrough Star of the year? Oh, so far.
So far, it's Gilbert Burns. I think at the start of the year he weren't even in the picture early, was he? And then he beats Maya and he beats Woodley, and he does so in impressive fashion in both times. And then he's in a title shot, and unfortunately he's just dropped out of that today. So by the time next week he could have been champion. All from where he weren't really a contender. He weren't really someone, and it's just all about taking chances with him. And he's had the best start of 2020 I can think of. And then besides Gilbert, we've got Sean O'Malley, where I know he's on his way to being a star, but I feel this year he's come back from his layoff. He's looked impressive. He's looked better than ever. He looks like a proper man now. He looks ready to face these top contenders. And for me, he seems to be the next big star. If you're looking for the next Conor McGregor, that's who I'm looking at, Sean O'Malley. So he's had a great start to 2020 as well. So excited to see him again.
Absolutely. I think Sean O'Malley's the clear winner for me in terms of breakout star. Obviously, he had 2 years layoff because of the positive tests he had, and he comes back and gets 2 back-to-back finishes. The UFC explodes for him. Everyone wants a piece of Sean O'Malley. You know, he is the next Conor McGregor. I don't really think there's an argument in that. He's the next big star for the UFC. Should he keep winning? Obviously, if he loses, it's like a lot of his hype will go away. But even then, I still think he's a big enough name that he'll still be a large fighter. So, absolutely, I think Sean O'Malley's the clear-cut breakthrough star. I like your Gil Burns pick. I didn't have that one down. The one I had down was Charles Oliveira. I think when he submitted Kevin Lee, he really cemented himself in the top of that division and became a name. Whereas before that, I don't think a lot of people knew who he was. So for him to go out there and submit someone like Kevin Lee, who obviously is quite well known, I think that really did a lot for him. And obviously, people are in talks of him fighting like Poirier or Ferguson or, I mean, even Hooker. He lost, but he still looked good. And obviously, that's a good fight for both of them. So I think he's going to only get bigger towards the end of the year, you know. And I think if he keeps winning, he could find himself in a title shot or right on the door of a title shot for the start of next year.
Yeah, Oliveira's a good pick just because he's right there now, and a lot of people aren't paying attention. Whereas he's not the money guy in the division. There's no real benefit to fighting Charles Oliveira. No one's really going to want to fight him because he's so dangerous. He's got the jiu-jitsu base, but then he's also putting his hands together now, which is, you know, a scary prospect for anyone. And if you're not going to get paid properly, what's the point in fighting Charles Oliveira? So he's going to have to force his way into a big fight. As we were speaking last time on the review show, probably Dan Hooker. I think Dan Hooker's not in a position where he can be, you know, demanding fights right now. He was impressive, but he lost, and Charles Oliveira's right there. So if we can match them two up, he beats Dan Hooker. He's cracked it. He is one of the breakthrough stars of 2020. But my pick, Gilbert Burns, he was literally on the cusp of becoming a champion. You know, he still had Usman to beat, but from where he came from at the start of the year, it's just been so dramatic and so quick, and it's so impressive. But also don't agree with this Sean O'Malley either.
Yeah, I mean, Gil Burns obviously back-to-back finished Damian Maia, then just dominated Tyron Woodley too. Neither of those fights are easy fights, and he really proved he belongs at the top of the division. So moving on, the next category we had was Rising Prospect. So for this one, I only had one down, and that was Edmund Shabazian after he defeated Brad Tavares in UFC 248, I believe it was. And he just looked fantastic in that. And the way he dealt with Tavares, and you know, he's no tough, it's no easy customer for anyone. You know, he's I guess you could call him a gatekeeper in a sense. He really is like the test for guys that want to get into the rankings. If you can't beat him, you don't belong in the top 15, you know. So for Shabazian to go out there and finish him the way he did and just look fantastic, I think he's the next big star in the middleweight division.
Yeah, I would have went for him. I don't think he fought this year though.
Was that not 248?
I think it was 244. But anyway,
right,
I was
bad.
looking at him because he is one of the obviously he's one of the brightest prospects in UFC, like by a million miles. And once he gets in with Brunson, and that's an acid test. So if he comes through that, that's impressive. For prospect, I got two people down. Maria Agapova, I think she's been one of the most exciting prospects I've seen this year. I think she come in, and I know Cyphers was, maybe out of a division and things like that, but she's a tough girl, and she wiped the floor of it. She looked impressive. I'm fully on that hype train. I can't wait to see her fight again in August. Another one who I probably would put, if I'm picking between the two, I'd probably go for him, Bryce Mitchell. He's been a prospect for a while, but that performance over Charles Rosa was just so dominant, and so it was a BBJ black belt he's doing this to. He's just toying with it on the floor, trying to get twisted submissions on BBJ black belts. It was crazy to see. And every time he fights, I'm excited. And he's got the personality, he's got the talent, he's got everything. So he's my pick for prospect of the year. But big fan of Agapova too.
Yeah, and I just have to chime in. I did check, and you are right. It was 244, so my bad. I think Mitchell is clear. No, you going? What are you saying?
I was just remembering because I was looking at Shabazian myself because he is clearly
Yeah.
the best prospect of 2020. He just hasn't fought yet, and it's just about getting him in the cage. So by the time this year's done, he might have fought once or twice, and we'll be buzzing over him, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I like your pick of Mitchell. I think Bryce Mitchell is the rising prospect of this year so far. I mean, the way he dealt with Charles Rosa was very impressive, and he's got a lot of hype behind him. I think he finds himself as 15 in the rankings now, or he might just be one out of getting ranked. I'm unsure. But he's close. He's close to the rankings if he's not already in them. So yeah, I think towards the end of the year, should he get one or two more fights in, he could be like, I don't know, edge in the top 10, maybe somewhere deep in the top 10. Who knows? Not a lot of fighters actually fighting at the moment due to everything going on. So this could be his shot to climb the rankings fast. But yep, next category we have is performance of the year. And so for this one, my winner is Amanda Nunes for her performance against Felicia Spencer. Because out of every fight this year, I think that is the most dominant that anyone has performed. And she was never in danger. There was never any threat at all. She just dominated from start to finish. So that's why I've given it to Amanda. But runner-up, I had Gilbert Burns against Tyron Woodley. Because very similar, except Tyron did pose a threat in some situations, whereas Spencer really wasn't a threat at all.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either of them picks. I did put down Burns Woodley just because it was so dominant. The reason I haven't picked it is just because Woodley, it was basically a mirror image of what we seen Usman do to Woodley. So is it Burns excelling, or is it Woodley declining? That's where I'm at with that performance. As impressive as he looked, Woodley looked just as bad, really. And you don't want to have a go at anyone, but he just didn't do his job, and he didn't turn up. Last week we briefly touched on it, and I said Gaethje Tony was my pick for performance of the year. I've kind of slightly swayed from it. It's still one of my top two. But besides that, I'm going to Sarah against Smith. To be fair, I had Smith big time, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I said to you, I'll put all my money on that. Smith's gonna do him. He's 40 years old. He's not pulling this off.
Yeah.
And then you see him on the scales, and he looks ripped to shreds. And then he gets in the cage, and he's taking all his punishments, and then he pulls it back, and he's knocking teeth out. It could have been stopped about 2 rounds early. He was so brutal, so dominant. It was such a surprise performance. Whereas Gaethje against Tony, I picked Gaethje to win anyway. I thought he'd knock him out early. I didn't think he'd be that impressive while he was doing, but I expected him to win. So if you're, in terms of surprise of the performance that shocked me the most, Glover Teixeira is who I'm going for. But just an honourable mentions as well, as we were speaking before, Oliveira against Lee. That was a coming out party for him. Big win. He looked good on the feet, got the submission. So props to him too. But Tony Gaethje, Teixeira Smith, it's one of them. And I'd probably edged Teixeira just because of the surprise element.
Yeah, and so the next category we have very similar fights actually than what we've just named, which is upset of the year. And mine, I had Justin Gaethje beating Tony Ferguson because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that Gaethje had a puncher's chance. He could only finish him in the first few rounds. If it went past the third round, I thought Tony would have it all day. And even in the first two rounds, Tony's dangerous. He's not like an easy fight. So I think that was the biggest upset of the year. The way Gaethje did it to go the 5 rounds and just beat him until the doctor called it. Yeah, that was my upset of the year. Runner-up, I did have Charles Oliveira submitting Kevin Lee because a lot of people, myself included again, thought Kevin Lee was going to win going into that matchup. And then for Charles Oliveira to do that, it was just very impressive.
Yeah, obviously, as I said, I was picking Justin, so that one didn't make my list. But Teixeira, obviously, I was so shocked by that. That made my list. And then I've also got Modafferi against Barber on there. That was a big shock because Barber, she's the girl, she's the prospect, and I'm sure if she beat Modafferi, we'd be speaking about her in our prospect list, but we're not, and we're speaking about other people now. So, and then also you've got Justin James. Not long ago, he knocked out Frank Camacho on a few days' notice, very impressive, and also Julian Erosa against Sean Woodson. You know, as we spoke about last time, everyone was picking Sean Woodson. Everyone's, high on him, and Erosa pulled it off. But as I said, I was so shocked by Teixeira, I can't even look past him. It was just, for me, that was a massive upset. I personally didn't know anyone picking Teixeira in that fight, and Smith had just beat Gustafsson, so he looks like ready for another title shot. It's like, oh, just get past Teixeira and you've cracked it again. But he ran into a dangerous guy on the night, and that's my upset of the year. But there's a few other good contenders.
Absolutely. The next category we went over last week, or last episode, which was Fight of the Year. So I think it's going to be pretty obvious to everyone. I think a lot of people are going to have the same in this one, right? It doesn't matter what media organization they work for. I think everyone's going to have either one of two fights as their Fight of the Year. So for me, it was Poirier vs. Hooker. Just a brilliant fight between the two. I know it was recent. Maybe it's recency bias, but the violence in that fight and the damage they both inflicted on each other, but they kept it going. And while they both tied, it was enjoyable the entire time. It was just a brawl. And there was ground exchanges. There was grappling exchanges too, so it wasn't just the two men on their feet beating each other up. It was a bit of a technical fight between the two, and very enjoyable to watch. So that was my Fight of the Year.
Yeah, just first things first, Hooker's been, I narrowed it down to 5 fights of the year in the end, and he's been in 2 of them. So Hooker Felder, Hooker Poirier, give that man some money, because he's more than earned it now. He's taken beatings. Hopefully he's not taking too many more, and he's able to adapt his style. I still can't really shift from Zhang against Joanna. I think, just for me, every time I hear about that fight, see that fight, I get so excited. It was so close. As I said last time, I had Joanna winning that. I'd love to see it again, and the fact that she had a big hematoma on her head made it so much more dramatic, and things like that. But then, and also got a shout out Emmett against Burgos. That was crazy, considering Emmett had tore his whole leg apart, and he's just cracking Burgos with everything, and that was impressive. And then Gaethje against Tony, we obviously had the shock value and how just the amazement of how Gaethje was able to connect so much, how Tony was able to take it, and then ultimately get the finish against someone who's 12 fights into a win streak. But after looking through everything, I still can't budge, and I think that's one of the best fights of all time, full stop, women's, men, anything. So for that to be beaten this year, I think it's going to be really tough on my book anyway, because I do rate that fight really highly. But I know Rose Namajunas just didn't, so who am I?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, do you know what's something interesting to me? If you showed me on paper all the fights that have happened so far this year, before they happened in January, if you gave me a list of every fight that's happened so far this year, and I had to pick out one that would be the best fight on the list, like the most entertaining fight of the year, I would absolutely, without a doubt, have picked Adesanya versus Romero. And that's probably bottom of the list of like best fights of the year. That's probably worst fight of the year. But on paper, that matchup's like, without analyzing it technically, just like on paper, 2 big names, people that are power punchers. I guess Israel not so much, but he does have power. But just 2 middleweights that are always entertaining to watch. But you put them together, and it's just it's snooze fest. So
no, they're almost too good. Like they knew the fear of like how good the other person is, and it just stop the fight in its tracks. And the fact that Zhang against Joanna was right before that made that fight even worse because everyone's high off a big, massive brawl for 5 rounds, and then them two absolutely stink out the gaff. So I'm pretty sure as Adesanya and Romero want to be getting back in there and proving what they're about. But Romero and I think both men kind of approached the fight right. They just needed to. Romero was trying to get off that one shot. Adesanya was trying to stay on the outside. It's just unfortunate that it was so hyped and it didn't deliver.
Absolutely. So finally, to wrap this up, we're going to pick who we think will be champion at the end of 2020 in every division. So starting off, women's strawweight, I think the champion's going to be Weili Zhang still. I think she's better than probably everyone in that. I think she's miles above everyone in that division except for about 3 people, and that is Tatiana Suarez, Rose, and Joanna. And obviously she just beat Joanna, so I can't see that rematch happening this year. Maybe if Rose gets past Andrade, she'll fight Zhang, and that's an interesting matchup. And I don't even know what Suarez is doing. Why hasn't she been fighting? I think she's injured or something. But
I think she is injured.
Yeah, so she'd have to come back and get another win before I see her in a title shot. So I think by the end of 2020, seeing as there's only 6 months left, I still see Weili Zhang being the champion. What do you think?
It all depends really on if Rose gets by Andrade and how quickly they're able to book that fight. I think if by the end of the year we see Zhang against Namajunas, I think Namajunas is the champion again. I think she lost the title, and obviously not discrediting Andrade, but it was kind of like a fluke moment, and it was in terms of she just dumped on her head when she was getting battered for most of the fight. I think she's reaching a prime. She's a talented fighter. She's got a load of ways to beat Zhang. I also think Zhang lost against Joanna, as I said, so I'm not fully convinced on her yet. I don't think she should be the champion right now. So Namajunas, if she gets that chance, she'll beat her. But they could also make the rematch against Zhang and Joan Jacek, and that'd be interesting as well, because I'm sure it'd be a 50-50 again. So I'm going to go with Namajunas. I think that's going to happen.
All right, so we'll move up to women's flyweight, and I think this pick's not going to be a controversial pick by any means. I think this is going to be most people's picks, and that's Shevchenko to retain the title towards the end of the year. I just don't see anyone beating her. I couldn't name you anyone in the top 5 that I think is capable of beating Shevchenko on any day. So yeah, going to pick Shevchenko there.
Yeah, I think it's Jojo Calderwood she's fighting next, and she's a good fighter. She's just not. Valentina is an all-time great fighter, and it's just feeding something to the Lions really at the minute. That 125 division, I've said it's very interesting because a lot of the girls are evenly matched, but the girl in front is miles ahead of them, and there's a lot of catching to do. So I expect her to knock off Jojo, retain the belt, and start looking at fights against maybe Zhang or someone like that. Very excited always to watch Valentina, but it's a bit of a mismatch at the minute for her and the 125 division.
Speaking of mismatches, we might as well just do 135 and 45 together, because I think the same person is going to be champion at the end of the year on both, and I think it's going to be Amanda Nunes. Unless, here's one thing. If Shevchenko defends against Jojo and comes up to 135, I think she has a chance of taking out Nunes. That second fight, I thought she might have scraped a victory there. It was a close fight. So that's my one what if. If Shevchenko comes up to 35. Otherwise, I think Nunes retains both belts.
I just don't think I don't think Nunes will fight again this year. I think she's got a family on the way. She's got a baby on the way, and she's happy to sit out. And I think it's one of them rare moments where I don't really mind if Amanda Nunes sits out the rest of the year because there's no one there to fight. I think Irene Aldana against Holly Holm is a good fight. But if Holm wins that fight, well, you can't do Holm against Nunes. You're just going to have to let the divisions work themselves out. So, yeah, I hope she enjoys a bit of time off, and we see her next year against a contender who's established themselves with a few wins.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll move on to the men's, and first up we have men's flyweight, and for me, I think it's going to be Davison Figueiredo as champion at the end of the year, just because I think the only championship fight in that division for the year will be Figueiredo versus Benavidez in a couple of weeks. I can't see them. Maybe we get another one in there. But I think Figueiredo wins that again, should he make weight? If he misses weight, he'll never be champion. They won't give him a title shot again. But should he make weight, and then I think he beats Benavidez, I don't see him defending. Even if he does defend, I can't think of someone who's like miles above him who could smash him and get the belt. So yeah, that's going to be my pick for men's flyweight.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. That I'd probably would go Figueiredo. I think besides all the other stuff, the headbutt, the weight miss, I think he looked better than Benavidez in that fight. I think he looked stronger. I think that knockout would have come eventually anyway. Yeah. And I expect him to do the same thing again. It is making weight now. I know it's tough for him, and it'd be a terrible circumstance if this belt was still vacant by the end of the year. That's a big possibility now, because they're going to have a backup, because you can't let these two fight again without the belt being fully on the line. So Figueiredo, if he makes the weight, if he does everything right, he'll be champion by the end of 2020, I think.
Absolutely. And so moving on to bantamweight, I'm going to throw it to you first. Who do you think will be bantamweight champion at the end of 2020?
I think it's gonna be Peter Yan. I think he'll pick it up against Jose. He'll potentially defend it against Sterling. I do think he is the guy. He hasn't got the record to prove it yet, but I think he will prove it. And I think as soon as he gets that belt, he's gonna be a tough man to get it off. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be Sterling. I think after seeing what Sterling did to Sandhagen, I'm convinced. I'm straight on the Aljamain Sterling train. I think he's gonna be champion in the year. I think he'll probably defend. I think. So here's the thing. I was breaking down that fight, Aldo versus Jan, and one thing that occurred to me was the leg kicks. The leg kicks when I can't remember who he was fighting. Jan fought. Don't worry, doesn't matter. Jan, he doesn't check all the leg kicks, and he does get damaged, and he does you can tell when he's hurt. When he's hurt his legs, you can tell. So I think if Aldo comes out there like prime Aldo and smashes the legs, he could pick up an upset there. That's probably my upset of next week's card. I think out of all those title fights, now there's only two. Out of all those two title fights, I think that's the one upset that I could see happening. I think Aldo could get it done. I think he could put Jan away. Jan hasn't really shown that he's beating the top guys yet. He looks like he's skilled enough to do that. He just hasn't done it yet. So I think Aldo could pull an upset here. Regardless, I think Sterling could take either of them. So my pick's going to be Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, I do think Jan, a lot of what I'm saying is backed off what I think he's going to be rather than what he is now. I think Sterling should be the champion right now, to be fair. Sandhagen win is enough to be a champion. And then I do look at Jan, and obviously I'm picking him to do big things, but I do also critique my own thoughts, and I think he is a bit undersized in comparison to people like Jan and Sterling and Aldo. So you could get an upset next week. It wouldn't be the biggest surprise. I am banking on him being what I think he's going to be, which is great. But you never know, and I'm very interested to see it. I can't picture a world where Aldo's the champion by the end of 2020 though. Yeah. If he wins the belt, he'll quickly defend against Sterling, and Sterling will, he'll take it off him. But very interesting. The one of the best divisions on the roster, so I always love seeing it.
Absolutely. So we'll move up to featherweight, where I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to leave 2020 still the champion, because here's the thing. This rematch I thought would be very 50-50. I thought after the first match, Max would make adjustments. Volkanovski would stick to what worked, maybe have a game plan B or C. But listening to Max Holloway's interview yesterday, he hasn't had a proper camp. He did all his training over Zoom. I don't know how confident I would be in picking him over Volkanovski, who's had a camp with training partners for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, whereas Max hasn't been able to have a body with him training. He's only been able to train over Zoom. So going into this, the first matchup, I picked Holloway. I thought Holloway would be longer. I didn't think he had more reach, but I thought he would be able to use his length. And he wasn't. His legs got picked apart, and he's got outpointed. I think without a proper camp, he gets outpointed again or finished. But so I think Volkanovski gets past him. And then obviously the rest of the division needs to work itself out. You've got Yair fighting Zabit, allegedly. Ortega fighting Zombie, allegedly. For some weird reason last week, Zabit moved above Ortega in the rankings, even though neither of them fought, so that doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so one of those fighters needs to establish themselves as the next contender, and I don't think that we'll get that done until next year. I think next year, January, we'll see another featherweight title defense.
Yeah, and I think whoever wins this fight is going to be champion by the end of the year. They're not going to have to defend. I don't really see it. Um, it's just who I'm picking. Obviously, all that stuff about Holloway is worrying, but he is a guy who he's got the fundamentals in, and a lot of his is about fitness, output, cardio, things like that. And I think that's what lost him the last fight is not throwing enough. He was kind of mesmerized by what Volkanovski was doing. So it's if he's ready and game to go and fight and put it on Volkanovski, put a pace on him and try and get him out of here that way. Um, it's so tough, this one. You know what? I'm gonna back Holloway. I do think he is a great fighter. I think I've picked him before to win this fight, and I'm doubting it now, but I'm still just about on the Holloway train.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. I think next weekend's card will answer a lot of questions for both those divisions, bantamweight and featherweight, over obviously championship and who's going to hold the belt. Moving up to lightweight, I think it's going to be Khabib. I think no one beats Khabib, but especially because of this tragic passing of his father, I can't see him defending until late in the year. Maybe October. It's meant to be September, but I can't imagine him defending in September after everything that's going on. And as he should, he shouldn't have to defend with after this. They're not going to strip him. Something tragic's happened to his family. He's going to have to take time to deal with that. And then obviously this has affected his camp he was in right now. So maybe we see him defend later in the year. Obviously it'll be against Gaethje because he's interim belt holder. But here's the thing, right? With this tragic news and Khabib maybe postponing a little bit, does Gaethje take a fight with Conor in the meantime? There's money to do that. Gaethje doesn't seem to want it, but I'm sure he will when there's money on the table. Conor wants it. He wants that interim title fight. So if Gaethje fights Khabib, I'm a little more, I don't know, maybe Gaethje gets it done. I still think Khabib will be champion. But if Conor beats Gaethje out, I think Khabib's 100% going to be champion at the end of the year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're going to probably have two champions by the end of the year. I think it'll be as it is now. Obviously, we've had the sad passing of Nurmagomedov's dad, and obviously everyone at Low Kick sends our condolences to the Nurmagomedov family. But does he fight? He said he's going to fight no matter what, but then when the reality comes, does he want to fight? And if he does fight, what condition will he be in? That is a big problem. So I hope he doesn't fight. I hope we see Gaethje against Conor, and by the end of the year, I imagine we'll still have an interim champion, and we'll have Khabib.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Gaethje does fight McGregor will pick up an interim belt. But then at this point, does Khabib even want to fight McGregor and go through all that, bad blood and just negativity when he's already feeling, down, I'm sure. So lightweight's an interesting one. Whatever happens, I think Khabib will be champion. I pick him over Gaethje, although I do fancy Gaethje a little bit. Pick him over McGregor. I pick him over anyone he's going to fight at the minute. He is the king, isn't he? So if he fights, he'll win. If he doesn't fight, he'll hold on to the belt.
I think we should just go back in time a little bit and do that Tony versus Khabib fight, because I think that's one everyone wants. So maybe Tony can be champion at the end of the year, but I doubt it. I think Khabib's 100% going to be champion. Anyway, we'll move on. Another wrestler. Kamaru Usman, I think, still retains his welterweight title at the end of the year, just because Gilbert Burns was the biggest threat. They'll rebook that. I think they will rebook that. Gilbert Burns and what's his name, Colby Covington, two biggest threats to him. He's not going to rematch Colby until Colby gets another win. I guarantee it, unless he jumps in real quick here. Like if Colby somehow tests for corona, tests safe, and then flies over, maybe that's how Colby gets another shot. Otherwise, forget him. He's not in the question. Masvidal, I don't see as a big threat to Usman. I think Usman just takes him down and mauls him like he does everyone else. Burns is a threat because of his grappling and the fact they're in a camp together. He knows his striking style. He's trained with him. So this is an interesting matchup, which I think they will rebook. But I still do favour Usman in that fight. So I'm going to say that at the end of 2020, Usman will still be champion.
Yeah, I do fancy Usman pretty much against every. I think he's the man right now. He's showed everything he needs in that Covington fight. He's not a striker, and he showed that he can strike, and he's obviously got the grappling. But I think whoever he fights, he's going to have a tough fight against those. So I think Burns can give him a tough night's work. I think Leon Edwards, when they actually get to it, will give him a tough night's work. So anyone is capable of pulling off the win against them. But I think right now he's kind of peak Usman. This is as good as he's ever going to get, and I think he'll hold the title for at least the rest of 2020, maybe even a couple more years.
Absolutely. So jumping up to the next division, middleweight. Israel Adesanya, I think he beats Costa. I think he's more technical. I think he's the better striker. I think Costa has power, but power doesn't help you when you're fighting someone like Israel who's got fantastic head movement, can move out of the way and return counter punches. So I think he wins that fight and defends. And then if he does defend again, who? Who does he defend against? Especially if Till beats Whittaker. Sorry. If Whittaker beats Till. If Whittaker beats Till, who is there for Adesanya? Because I don't think they're going to do the Whittaker rematch next after Costa. I can't see that happening. He's pretty much beaten everyone else that's in like title contention. Is there someone I'm forgetting?
Mm-hmm. No, there's not. Obviously, there is Till is there. Till's an option, and Till can beat Whittaker, so that's an exciting fight. Just for the build-up, I don't think the actual fight will be particularly interesting, just because the styles will cancel each other out, and it'll be a point fight. I think I'm picking Adesanya. I think he beats Costa, but I am aware Costa has some traits that could cause him problems. He's really tall. He's really big. He punches hard. So he could cause the upset. But I'm picking Adesanya just because I don't think Costa's done 5 rounds yet. I think he got tired against Romero. So he needs to build to that, and I think he is quite new to the MMA, like to his career. I think he's about 13 fights in. So yeah. I'm picking Adesanya. I think he beats Costa, and then maybe we get a Till fight if Whittaker's. We won't see him again this year, but I pick Adesanya to beat everyone.
Yeah, I think I agree. Light heavyweight is an interesting one for me because I've got 2 people down here. If John Jones doesn't get stripped and doesn't vacate, John Jones. I don't think anyone beats him. I don't think Jan beats him. Reyes in a rematch could pull an upset possibly, but I think John does really well in rematches. You look at the rematch with Cormier, he finished him. You look at the rematch with Gustafsson, he finished him. So I think in a rematch with Reyes, he beats Reyes too. And I think he finishes Reyes. But I don't know if he's going to remain champ because he's not fighting. The UFC aren't happy with him. If he sticks to his guns and says, I'm not fighting until I get what I'm worth, they'll strip him. And if they strip him, I think Reyes beats Blachowicz and becomes the champion. What do you think?
I think John Jones isn't. I think him and the UFC are able to negotiate and sort that situation out because John Jones is a well-paid fighter. He's one of the best-paid fighters. He's not. I imagine he earns so much more than Jorge Masvidal right now because he is a champion. He's been a champion for so long, and he's been in the UFC for so long. So he's not making bad money. He's just not making what he thinks he should be making. Which I think is the difference between Masvidal probably isn't making anywhere near that money because he's never been championship level until right now, whereas John Jones has been there for years. So I think that situation will rectify itself, and he'll get back in, and he'll have Blachowicz or Reyes or maybe both, and he'll beat them both.
Yeah, so John Jones is a safe pick on that one. I think a lot of these champions are pretty safe, which just goes to show how much they've weeded out the opposition in their divisions. So especially Jones. I mean, he's been champion for how many years now? 7 maybe? No, well, sorry, he got stripped and then came back in 2017. Yeah, well, he's been dominant. He's beaten everyone. So, yeah, I think he'll stay champ. Moving up to heavyweight, Francis Ngannou is the man. I think doesn't matter who wins out of Stipe and DC, Stipe will fight in the next title fight after. Even if DC wins, he's going to retire. Stipe will fight Ngannou in a rematch. It's going to be Stipe Ngannou. That is going to be the next title fight after Stipe DC. I guarantee it. I could bet. If I had to make a bet on anything I've said today, that's it. It's going to be Ngannou versus Stipe 2. And I think if DC could finish Stipe, Ngannou could finish Stipe. And I think he does this time around. So that's my pick.
I'm actually not that confident in Francis fighting Stipe just because I think if DC wins and actually retires, that would be quite a shock because I think Francis is still there and is still a money fight, so he might want to take that. I think I pick Francis to beat anyone really. But if Stipe wins, I think he'll be out injured for the rest of the year, or he'll take a layoff and he'll sit out. And then if Cormier wins and the title becomes vacant, then Francis might fight someone else. I don't know who the next contender would be. So it's an interesting. It might be Blades or it might be Rosenstruck again. So I'm picking Francis. I just think he might be made to wait a little while longer until he gets the actual shot, and then the title match might actually lay with Miocic or Cormier for a while. But I'm gonna go with Ngannou. I'm gonna be hopeful. Hopefully he gets a shot by the end of the year. Hopefully, and he will pull it off. I'm pretty sure. But I just don't know how that division's gonna play out. It's so up in the air right now.
Yeah, it has been for the past year. So, but I don't think DC fights Ngannou. I can't fathom that. Being his age, saying he's going to retire no matter what. Why would you come back after, if he wins, why would you come back to defend against someone like Ngannou who just puts people out? Derek Lewis, I guess you could argue, does the same, but Lewis wasn't putting people away the same way Ngannou was. Ngannou's just a monster. So if I'm DC, I'm taking that belt and running, I'm not coming back.
I don't know, but when you're an Olympic level wrestler and someone's offering you millions and millions of dollars to fight Ngannou, who was clearly not a wrestler, and he's being dominated in wrestling by Miocic, he's probably thinking, I'll wrestle him and maybe get a submission in a couple of rounds and make $10 million. And obviously when you're trying to ride into the sunset, it's nice to ride off with an extra bit of money in your back pocket. We've seen Bisping do that. He lost to GSP in the biggest fight of his career, made a load of money, and then he thought a couple of weeks later, I'll go and make a bit more and fight Kelvin Gastelum. So obviously it didn't go well for him, but Cormier will be confident that he can wrestle Ngannou, and I'm sure he will. And he's small, he's got the stature, he could duck under. It's just getting out the way, isn't it? And if it's risk reward and things like that, and how quickly they can turn it around, because he is a heavyweight. He doesn't need a full camp after a few weeks, and he can do it again. So it is a very interesting time of the heavyweight division, and it's so up in the air. I've got no idea. But if Francis Ngannou gets his chance, I expect him to take it against either one of them guys.
Here's an interesting scenario I want to pitch to you. I don't know how likely it is. I don't think it's very likely. If DC wins, Jones jumps to heavyweight to do DC versus Jones 3 for the belt, right? And then that fight, I could imagine Jones winning, to be honest. I think that's a winnable fight for Jones at heavyweight, although Cormier could pull it off. If Jones wins that, he could leave 2020 champ, or he gets that money fight against Ngannou as champion at heavyweight for the heavyweight belt. The reason I don't see that likely is because that would be pretty dirty to Ngannou to make him wait through all those fight camps and everything. But what do you think of that?
No, I don't think there's any interest in the UFC making Francis Ngannou wait. I don't think Cormier, he said he wants that Jones match, but I think that's a much, like, he knows he's not at his peak anymore. He knows he's not at his peak, and he's going to have to be at his peak to beat John Jones. So, whereas he probably thinks he's got enough in the wrestling department to beat Ngannou, which is my thinking behind it. I'd be very surprised. I think eventually Jones is going to have to step up and fight at heavyweight, but maybe we'll be made to wait until 2021 when we can get crowds in the arena and he can get us whatever he wants, 30 million or whatever Dana White said he wants. We might have to wait for that, but eventually it'll come. It's been years in the making, so hopefully when he gets there he impresses, because everyone's been looking forward to it for so long.
Last one, I swear. Cormier wins, and then there's a vacant belt, and Stipe's out because he's injured, because he gets finished by Cormier. This is hypothetical. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. So Stipe's out injured. Francis fights Jones for the vacant belt. And then, here we go. This is about to get epic, all right? So Jones beats Ngannou, becomes double champion. Then Stylebender, January 2021, moves up to light heavyweight, and Jones defends against him. What do you think?
Oh, don't know. I think once Jones is at heavyweight, he's there. He's staying there. I think he's gonna. I think he's so methodical about being a heavyweight. I think he's gonna spend so much time bulking up and getting ready for it. So I'd pick Jones anyway. I just don't. I think Adesanya, he's the tall, lanky guy, but he's a bit undersized for Jones, and Jones is very capable of fighting a heavyweight. So I think once he's there, he's staying there. Adesanya best hurry up and get to light heavyweight before he decides to go to heavyweight, so we can see that fight.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. So that wraps up everything I had there. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
Just the last one, I put a note down just because when I was going through Fight of the Year, one that popped up was James Krause against Trevin Giles. And I don't know if you remember that, but James Krause popped up on a day's notice, and he stepped up to middleweight.
Robbed on
He's in
the
Fight
decision.
Tonight. I thought he would. So yeah, I don't know what type of award this is, but this is just shout out James Krause, ballsiest move of the year award or whatever you want to call it. It was just, and he kind of set the tone for the year because then now everyone's stepping up on a few days' notice. But for him as an established welterweight, I think he was on a winning run. He put everything on the line in that fight. He was clearly tired towards the end, but I thought he won, and it was such a ballsy move. And I don't think we can leave the mid-year review without giving him a shout out because it was a while ago. People forget, but I don't forget, and that was ballsiest move of the year. Congrats, James Krause.
Do you reckon that's your biggest robbery of the year?
Oh, no, I don't think that was a robbery. I thought he won, but it was a close fight. So going through robberies, it's tough with the robberies, isn't it? I couldn't even think who's been robbed. Obviously, I picked Joanna over Zhang, but it weren't a robbery either. So yeah, I'd have to go back and look at all them, but off the top of my head, I don't have one. Do you?
Yeah, I think that Marlon Vera losing to Song Yudong was a robbery. I thought Vera clearly won that fight. So for the judges to score it,
there's a few in that card, weren't there? Because we had Barboza against Ig as well, so that was a big one.
But for the judges to score that 30-27 in favor of Yudong in that one, it was just didn't make any sense to me. So that would be my robbery of the year if we're gonna go into that way. So
yeah, I'd probably go Barboza, Ig. I thought they were all relatively close fights, but I did think he won. I thought he won quite clearly. So, and it's such a shame for him because he got 2 back to back as well. So, hopefully he gets another big fight. And Ig, not long now until he's in a massive fight on the 15th. So, can't wait for that one either.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you later in the week to preview UFC 251.